Welcome to The Prize Inside. The Prize Inside. A chiropractor's journey in everyday holistic health and vitality. Here, your host, Dr. Jeremy Myers, delves into the remarkable journeys of everyday people who have embraced the path to health and healing. Through his practice, Dr. Jeremy encounters inspiring stories of profound transformation and the power of true healing within each of us. Stay tuned as we discuss various holistic topics and unlock the healing potential that lies within us all.
All right. Oh, shoot. My scenes. Hang on, guys. There we go. Welcome, everybody, to the Prize Inside Whole Health Weekly. It's good to see you all tonight. Pretty fun day. We got to see my daughter's Lexi started doing her tennis thing. So that was pretty cool. They did 7-0. So that was pretty good. She keeps getting better, and I love when somebody's passionate about something. I think she likes the sport. One is because I can't say anything because it's not one of those cheering sports where you have to sit and like clap like silently, which I think she likes the most. But watching her keep improving and, doing that kind of thing and just not putting a ton of pressure on herself to do that, it was pretty cool. And then, but it was finally a really nice night to go out to see some sports out there. So hopefully you guys enjoyed your day. I did. Whole Health Weekly was great. I've had a couple nights away from it just because we've had some great interviews. If you didn't catch us last Wednesday I had Kirsten Shockey on. Kirsten Shockey is she's written 5 books on fermented foods. I couldn't get enough of it. We probably could have went another 3 hours with just the questions, and her knowledge base was so incredible. Did you know you can make your own fermented soy sauce? So, and ketchup, everything, right? So, and all fermentation is fantastic. So if you like that kind of stuff, make sure you're getting on Rumble. Rumble is an app just like YouTube. It's an app you can put on your phone, everything else. And it's free. It's absolutely free. It's called The Prize Inside on Rumble, a chiropractor's journey. If you look up I'll put that little icon up there so you see that. So my little icon up there, if you see that guy, then you're on the right channel. If you put in The Prize Inside a Chiropractor's Journey on YouTube, you could also subscribe. If you can subscribe, you can see all the videos we've done in the past and can kind of get into those, get the history going in that direction. So with that said, we're going to start. Oh, and one more thing. I love it. I think it's a slow growth. I ain't worried about it too much. But if you like newsletters and keeping up on things, like tonight, we'll go over some major articles, and then we take those and make a small newsletter out of it so you can read them. Go to tribe1.substack.com. So tribe1.substack.com. There we'll do pretty much all you're going to get out of that email is you're not going to get a bunch of spam ones. You'll get announcements that we're going live, what the show is, and then also some newsletter formats. Eventually I'd like to do something where if you're on that list, we do something special within the Substack too. Not sure how to do that just yet, but we're going to get there. So with that said, let us talk about Whole Health Weekly. This week, what we do on Wednesday night is we go through the trending things that are happening in social media and to see where we're at. So a lot of times people, with the world of AI and the world of algorithms, a lot of times you're going to get fed a bunch of information. How do I say this? The computer algorithms are getting to the point that they can almost read your mind. And every pattern you have, everything is going into these phones. Well, there's other people that really want that data, people that want to sell you things. Okay. And so, let's say if you're over a certain age, all of a sudden your thing is full of arthritis and back pain, right? And they're trying to sell you this newest thing. The job of this show is to kind of first walk you through the newest stuff if I don't find a crazy trends out there, but also look at those different trends and see if they're all good for us, or are they living what I call the innate lifestyle. So in chiropractic, we believe that the body is a perfect self-healing organism. All the cells of the body are perfect. It's just when we get that body interfered with various things, 3 things: thoughts, toxins, trauma, is when we start having issues. Okay. And so that's where we want to discern what we get our information. I can't stop you from getting information, right? Okay. You're going to get hit with all these different things, especially in the health field. But we can make a good discernment on like something that could work for you, right? Or not, right? Let's not spend $200 on the beet from the Yakimbe Mountains. Like if the beets in your garden would work just fine and they cost 50 cents. So that's the kind of stuff that we really got to watch, because in my holistic world, I see it all the time. Medical world, I'm sure it's the same way. People get kind of hosed over and they think this is the next best thing. And sometimes it's just, it's not doing it. So with that said, I do this little search through the internet to see what's trending. And we'll go through that first tonight. And then we go into some of the latest articles that look really, really interesting. There's a couple out there on like heart cell regeneration, which I want to talk about as well. So with that said, let's look at what is trending so far this year into late March. Okay, as of late March 2026, holistic health is dominating conversations across news outlets, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. The biggest driver is the Global Wellness Summit's 2026 Trend Report. It was released in January, which major outlets like Vogue, Outside Online, Forbes covers it widely. Okay. So the first thing in that trending wellness is neuro wellness and nervous system regulation. Probably the number one buzz topic, which makes sense. So when you hear neuro wellness, you're talking taking care of your spine and nervous system. Oh my gosh. It's like shocking you're talking to a chiropractor. How is that the number one buzz topic, but then chiropractic's not up there? I don't know. But most people don't understand what chiropractic is. Most people think that chiropractic is like back pain, neck, all of those we're really, really good at. But the neurology, the neuroscience behind all of it, like the stimulation of those nerves, all of those things are so important. But this is what they're talking about in this nervous system regulation. People are exhausted from hustle culture and constant optimization. The focus is on calming the nervous system through somatic processes like breath work, herbal teas, broths, soups, slow mindful movement, stretching, postural alignment, strong boundaries, and reducing screen time. This ties us into the backlash against over-optimization theme, and we'll talk about that. Prioritizing joy, pleasure, and feeling safe in your body over tracking every single metric. So if you've listened to 1%, our Whole Health Weekly or 1% Tribe on Sunday night, a lot of these topics we've covered. So I think what's happening is ever since I got online, it must be my Prize Inside crowd is setting the trends. Because if that's the number one buzz, they should just go to the Prize Inside, start watching all the different ones. I have a video all on breath work, like the bunch of different ones on breath work, all those things. But it's not wrong. It's one of those things that the world is so chaotic. Just to get news, guys, just to get like real news that you can not call horse crap, like it's crazy. Like when the news starts lying to you on like a regular basis, it kind of blows your mind. Like I don't know. It's kind of a crazy time. Like before, okay, I'll give you an example. So one of the things I learned to do because I'm with patients all the day is one of the things that makes a person more effective. And I'd read this a long time ago. Don't read the news, ask your patients, right? Because the patients are coming in and they will know the news better than you because they are like waiting in the waiting room or whatever, right? And so that's been a trend of mine for years. Like, wow, what's going on today? Because you don't want to just, you're getting chiropractic on a regular basis. I don't want to just know, how your L5 vertebrae is doing. I want to know who you are, right? So we can talk in those different topics. One of the things that's crazy though nowadays, it depends on which damn channel you watch, is what actual news you get. It's crazy. And that's, you're talking political, you're talking health, all of it. Like it's wild. Like any topic, it's like a completely free for all. But I always thought, when I was growing up, I thought news was like supposedly news. But then this happened. I'll tell you this story. This is years ago when I kind of woke up to, holy crap, we got a problem. Okay. So my office, our chiropractic clinic started right next to, we shared a building with the pharmacy. And Russ was the pharmacist that was next door, and he was there all the time. Real big into holistic things as well. So he'd come over on a regular basis, get adjusted, all those kind of things. Well, me not knowing, I went to I always watched, the local TV for weather and what was going on in the town. And one day, on the thing, they go on the news desk, remind you. Okay. So I'm going to set it up. So this is the news desk when the ladies are, the lady, I remember her, Trudy was speaking on, giving us the news. And it says, the report is this just in, there's a shortage of flu vaccines. Okay. And so the shortage of flu vaccines pops up. And then there's a line, there's this picture of a Walmart, or I'm sorry, a Walgreens with a lion like out the door. And they're like, make sure you get your flu shot if you're going to get one, right? And so as I'm watching this thing, I'm like, oh man, if I was into flu shots, that'd be a problem. But I'm kind of a holistic guy. I'm not big in, I don't think that's a thing for me, but that's, just what it is. Well, Russ had come in from the pharmacy next door and he was getting adjusted. And I go, man, you guys going to be busy? He's getting adjusted before they open their doors. I go, man, is our parking lot going to be big enough for you? He goes, what do you mean? He goes, oh man, I saw there was a shortage of flu vaccine. Do you not have any flu shots or whatever? And he's like, oh, I got plenty, Jeremy. You want one? I go, no, God, no. I just do vitamin D, C, and zinc. Like I tell all of you, zinc, vitamin A, C, E, selenium, do it all, no sugar, right? All that stuff that we've talked about in other videos. So if you're a subscriber, just letting you know. But so as we're going through these times, he goes, well, if you want one, Jeremy, I got one. I go, no. Are you? They said on the news desk, not on a commercial, on a news desk, that there was a shortage of flu vaccines. He goes, Jeremy, he looks dead set at me. He goes, that was an ad. I go, it couldn't have been an ad. It was on the news desk. He goes, it was an ad. They get paid to say that. He goes, have you ever noticed how all the Walgreens are the same shape and they're built almost identical? Holy crap. I didn't think about that. I was like, oh my God. So that was a Walgreens that was That was a Walgreens in a different town. That line wasn't even real. And I'm like, what is happening? So then then my distrust started going crazy. To this day, how do you know what's a news channel? What news story? Whatever, right? Good evening, Connie. How's your night going? Hopefully good. Hopefully good. But yeah. But that's where Whole Health Weekly kind of sparked, because I'm like, oh my God, if we're getting at a news desk the wrong information, then what else what else is going on there, if you know what I mean? So that's where a lot of these things, like with the neuro wellness, they're trying to implement a ton of new tech into wellness. Okay. They're going to call it wellness. But one of the problems with all that new tech is it doesn't allow us to live and understand our own self-awareness. Okay. Dr. Geimer, I love this comment. You have to have a self-awareness to understand the human body, right? And that's what we hope chiropractic teaches over and over again. A good example is I had one guy the other day. He had a very horrible low back. We got him through that. He has done great for several months. And then it kind of started kicking up on him, right? So he could feel a little tweak. And he goes, I don't know if I should have came. It's not as bad as it was. I go, exactly. You're catching it. Your body's saying there's a self-awareness to it prior to it becoming a major problem. And so I go, you're actually learning to catch things, beforehand, right? So Dr. Geimer always had this, my favorite analogy he'd use. Let's say you were a kid and no one ever taught you to brush your teeth, ever. So you never brushed your teeth, okay? If you didn't ever brush your teeth, you would never know if they were clean or dirty, correct? Right? Never know if they were clean or dirty. The problem is, but the moment you start to brush your teeth, you know the instant they're clean or dirty. It creates a self-awareness. Good example of what's happening currently. We have lost the ability, because we eat while we watch TV. We have lost the ability of understanding when we're full or hungry. That signal we kind of blew through. And that's why GLP-1 and all those things are taking off, is because they're trying to do something to get that hormone back into the swing of things to create this full feeling, right? And so those are some things that you can think of. But this neuro wellness, what they're saying is like people are actually anxiety stressing out over doing all these holistic monitoring systems. I won't give you the guys as the podcast, because I will later, because he's one of my favorites to listen to a lot of times. He got me into podcast listening. But one of my guys, he's a super brilliant, probably billionaire or whatever, right? But he's so inundated. He's so consumed with what I call biohacking. So sometimes the biohacking, it sounds really good idea until it's not. Until now it's an all-consuming place where we don't want to do that. None of us want to live in a place where, we're so consumed with our own health that we stop living, right? And so that's what this neuro wellness is, a good thing. It's disconnect. It's, disconnect from all those, different bio hacks, different monitors, all those things. There's a place for them once your brain is okay with understanding when to wear that smartwatch, when to, check these different things, when to check your weight, when to look at your muscle mass and all those kind of things. But if it sends you down a bad rabbit hole as far as health and well-being goes, is it worth doing? And that's what this neuro wellness, and that's why it's one of the number one ones up there, because it's the amount of crazy news and the amount of scare tactics in the news, which is by design, by the way. It's absolutely by design. It's like it's in the news to get you to buy certain things. Okay. That's it. I wish it was more nefarious than that, but that's pretty much it. It's like to make sure you are the product. Okay. That's the beautiful thing about innate intelligence in the universe. If you give to the universe, right? Or you take care of yourself, you become less and less of other people's product, right? You're the consumable, right? You sit on social media for 8 hours a night. They know every data point they possibly can on you. If you checked out and you didn't get on that social media, how am I supposed to track you? How am I supposed to know what you want? Right? And how can I get in that brain of ours, right? Our little peanut brains, and get sucked into some addiction, right? That makes us think we have some condition. That's why they say the neuro wellness trend is way, way up there because of, this almost like anxiety that's occurring with the high stress environment we live in, working all the time, doing all those things. And then also on top of it, the chaos of not knowing if your news is real. Have to ask 7 things to make sure, are we really doing this? Is it real? What? Which way is it going? It's freaking wild, like how much it's gotten there. That's why I'm kind of glad we started this Wednesday night thing, for sure. All right, so the next one, women's health, women's longevity, and gender-specific holistic health. 2026 is being called the year of the woman in wellness. Longevity, once male-dominated, is shifting towards ovarian health, hormonal balance, cycle syncing, and women-specific protocols in sports, supplements, and preventative care. Oh, let's see. I really like this. So there has been a lot of pelvic floor stuff. So a lot of pelvic floor things for women just in general at all ages. A lot of times women will have different issues based on this pelvic floor strength. I would suggest like no matter if you have an issue or not, as a woman, if you had a baby at some point, making sure you understand pelvic floor exercises is a really good thing to do. And all you got to do is stick it in YouTube and you'll find a few things. Or, you can come into the office, we'll show you a bunch. But a lot of times, if you don't wait for a problem, that could be a thing. Cycle syncing, like there's a lot of women's health. Speaking of that, I just had this conversation with a patient. Many don't know that I do, like I'm a registered herbalist, and I've been, working with patients on that, and we do that on a regular basis at the office. A lot of people still don't know because I still adjust people on a regular basis, and but we also do like that type of coaching from gut health to now we're starting to dive into the women's health side. One of the things that's so fascinating about when I got into the herbals is it's nutrition essentially, but I didn't realize how many herbal remedies there are for women in just all kinds of phases of life that really I've never even heard of as a doctor. There's only like a couple choices. Let's say menopause or hormone balance. Once I got into herbals, I'm like, oh my God, there's so many options that are just not known to the American public. Maybe they are for, Chinese medicine or other countries, but here it's scarily very minimal. And so I always thought that was interesting. If you ever want to talk about something like that, let me know. Contact me, reach out sometime. That would be fantastic. So, with that said, let's go on to the next one. Okay, so we talked about this today, over optimization. So try to ditch the biohacking to the extreme, maybe do it for like a week and then take those monitors off. Okay, so number 4. So 2025, this was up there. So I'm hoping people are understanding it more. I still do a ton with it. Gut health, natural nutrition, and root cause healing. prebiotic fibers, which we'll talk about that in a minute. Herbs like turmeric, ginger, black seed oil, milk thistle, dandelion, collagen gelatin protocols, detox sequencing, microbiome support are everywhere. Holistic practitioners emphasize addressing underlying issues like inflammation, toxins, digestion, rather than symptoms. Okay, so anytime you're looking at any condition, right, in anything, we want to start with the best innate intelligence possible. And one of the ways you do that is not only you're a great nervous system and your spine and nervous system working properly, but your gut bacteria is good. Your gut microbiome's good. All of those things, once you start doing those things, you really can notice a big difference in like your health and well-being. And so I hope the gut microbiome stays in the top 4 every single year. All right. Oh, okay. This is where, let me look. Okay. So this is where I'm going to share my screen. I'm trying something a little different tonight. Share screen. Let's do this video. Hopefully it'll play. Okay. Oh man. Why isn't that? Hang on.
You're going to learn.
There it is.
Just wear the damn sunscreen.
I'm going to show you how to approach your skincare routine as a cosmetic chemist, so you too can look this good at 60 years old.
You're going to learn about the Western diet, which is the way most of us eat and is really at the root of many of our eating problems.
We're going to learn about your specific chronotype. Exactly when should you be trying to optimally time your sleep on the 24-hour clock?
Just wear the damn sunscreen.
Okay.
I'm going to
That one is not what I wanted. All right. That was just an ad. Okay. So this one, let's try this one. Sorry, guys. Let's see what this one does. All right. Ready? I'm trying something new, so don't get mad at me. All right, here we go. Okay. This is failing miserably. All right. So I think me pulling up TikToks is probably not the best move. I don't know much about the old TikToks. Okay. So let's do, I know how to run YouTube decently off of here. So let's do that one. Let's see what this says. So these are ones that
50K a year and you feel self-conscious about your gut sticking out. I'll get you shredded or
Good morning and Happy New Year. This is my first YouTube video of the year. Good morning and Happy New Year. This is my first YouTube video of the year. And if you're here from Wellness Her Way, you know that we're going to be hanging out on YouTube this year. I'm so excited. And beverage, usually lymphatic tea or bone broth. This morning we're having my lymphatic tea strips. I swear by these. These set my stomach up for good digestion, and they were formulated by a lymphatic drainage expert. I love the ingredients, and this is something that I always have with me when I travel. I also just think it's good to start the day with some type of warm beverage before I jump right into anything that's iced. Next, I'll make my electrolytes.
okay. I got to do a better job of pulling these. So that was good. There is some stuff with lymph flow. So remember that video. I apologize. I'll get some better I'm gonna get some better videos. I did a good job one week. I just couldn't remember how I did it. And this time it was like, there's a, you know how it is in the wellness space. There's a ton, and most of them, like that one you just saw, that girl, they put a good looking person on. They put a bunch of product on that they want you to do, and they're hoping that you get all those products that she's showing based on those YouTube channels. So I apologize for that. Those are what we were trying to show. You don't necessarily need all that, right? So, but there's people that are getting huge follows on, like, okay, here's my mud mask. Here's and then I do my lymph shake, and it's all these different products that they're giving to them so that they can promote them in the video. Does that make sense? So it happens all the time. Like one day when you see me going, oh my God, the 1% tribe really recommends this type of tea, you will know that I got a good deal on that tea. Just let you know that. So with that said, let's keep going on different ones. I thought that would be a cool one to do. So there's something called the viral. Let me read this. So the viral 3-ingredient gelatin trick on TikTok. This is a science-backed recipe for collagen, gut health, and weight loss support. It's been hyped for its simplicity, results, and its 3-ingredient gelatin trick. Okay, I'm going to look this up. And that one wasn't found. Okay. Well, maybe I won't. Okay. Never mind. So there's a gelatin trick. I don't know if it's any good, but I don't know. All right. Okay. So I think that's all I got for top picks. But just remember the one that's interesting is it went from gut health was up there, right? And now we're really getting into the biohacking optimization. Remember this though, I am definitely not against the different monitors, the different AI systems that'll help us with our health and longevity. Some people would really, really like that. You can make your own like coach and all those kind of things. The problem though is when it's there a long time, right? And you're constantly monitoring it, it can really kind of mess with your brain. Okay. I had to sit down with one guy. I had a guy that somebody gave him a at-home blood pressure cuff. Well, not a big deal most of the time. Most of us don't do this. He was checking his blood pressure 5 times a day. 5 times a day. Tell me that's good for you. Tell me that's good for that brain. If would he have been a different person? And so me and him had to sit down. I said, you need to throw it away. He's like, I don't want to, because he had a blood pressure problem years ago, scared the crap out of him. And then he wanted to keep track of it all the time. I'm like, you're going to run high every time. You get anxiety every time you're doing that, right? So that's where I always say, like, it's good to have these monitors, and they're going to come up with more and more. We're going to have you're going to have EKGs that are on your watch. You're going to have, did you gain 1 pound of, weight? All of these things are good in some respect, as long as we use them as a tool and not the end all be all, right? They did a study that said, if you get an x-ray, let's say, if you get an x-ray of, I'll use my example of your lower back, instantly, without any words, you already think it's a serious condition, right? Some kind of serious condition because you took the x-ray, right? So if that's the case, if I stick a monitor to your hand in your watch, and all of a sudden you're watching your beats per minute and your heart rate, and pretty soon it'll check your sugar, and somehow it'll get into your blood, all those things, it could cause some major anxiety. So we just have to be careful with that. And remember, I want to do another talk on that soon, but the biofield, remember the biofield. We have a energetic field around us. And when we have technology on us, we actually interfere with that biofield. Oh, that's the other thing I was going to tell you guys. So this is the other one. I was listening to a pretty good podcast. They're very super scientific. I wouldn't recommend. I'm not going to tell you the name. I might. They're called the Dark Horse. I think it's called Dark Horse Podcast. And I like them sometimes because they're very scientifically minded, but I really like listening to them on the medical side sometimes just to see some discernment, because they actually there was a study on mice on kind of like wearable technology, where they kind of exposed these mice to the what is it called? Dang it. There's a certain type of radiation. I can't remember what it's called. So there's certain kinds of radiation that it's giving off. Like we have the electromagnetic frequencies that are coming off. It always emits off a computer, off a cell phone, off a light, all those things. Well, one of the arguments in this paper made some sense. And I'm going to tell you, and it was a counter to what I always say. So once that person had, let's say, the wearable device, it was hitting it with a certain amount of radiation, hitting the body with that. Of course, there was damage to the cells, right? But the argument the paper made is it actually, because you kind of think of when I tell you this, think of bodybuilding. So damage to the cells from this radiation, but the cells were able to regenerate and repair very well. So by the end of this study, the cells were actually more active and alive somehow than the mice that did not have as much. Now, that's interesting because that idea of this repairing phase, getting these cells activated, doing something with the cells, is the same idea of not sitting around, making sure you're doing exercise. Bodybuilding, to build muscle, you have to essentially damage the muscle tissue. And then once that muscle tissue gets damaged, the soreness, which is inflammation, right? The soreness is those muscle cells kind of lengthening and then getting bigger, right? So they grow. So you're activating those things, because a lot of times people will say, and I'm the first, you'll hear, oh, radiation's really bad. It can be if your cellular activity is kind of off or something. But our job is to take the universal forces that all of them are universal, right? So we have outside radiations, we have cold, hot, gravity, all of those things, and be able to have our cells adapt to that. And that's the beauty of chiropractic. That's the beauty of innate intelligence within our body. It's the ability to go into an environment and get out of that environment unscathed or better than we were before. And when your body is challenged with an injury, then sometimes that's why the beauty of when you're able to get through a condition that most of the time would have required surgery, right? So let's say I'll use a back problem or something. Well, let's use a neck thing. So let's say this person has a neck issue and they're recommended surgery, but they used a series of chiropractic, maybe some massage, some exercise, and they were able to get out without having the neck surgery. It happens on a regular basis. It's very, it can happen either there's a lot of situations where that can happen. What's neat though, and I've noticed it over my 26 years, is if somebody is able to get through that naturally, their body's actually a healthier body in a sense than it was prior to the injury occurring. Why? Because the cells were able to activate, heal the body, and get back to work, right? So it's wild to see that. You'll have somebody have chronic low back, just general back pain. And then over time, they deal with it. They figure out a way to get through it. They might have the chronic low back pain once in a while, but they can keep it at bay. And then all of a sudden it just disappears. Well, it didn't disappear. The cells of the body, the human body, started to create adaptation to allow that body to move more pain-free, whether that was create the degenerative arthritis, rust on the hinge, change the position of all those things. So when you look at a vertebrae that's like, oh man, they've got arthritis all over the place. Well, how did they get that? If you took an x-ray of them when they were 10, and then now they're 60, and there's arthritis in there. When the arthritis started forming, why wasn't there immediate pain and not being able to move? It's because that arthritis was forming in adaptation to how your body moves, how your body's functioning. So the body was actually healing itself with the degenerative arthritis. So a lot of times, contrary to a lot of people's belief, the degenerative arthritis that you see, disc thinning, all those kind of things, is actually your body working properly. It's trying to take an injured area and heal it up the best it can with what it's got. It's pretty remarkable, actually. So I always thought that was cool. All right. So now, in our last few minutes, let's talk about, since my video sucked, I'm sorry about that, but this part never sucks. This is Dr. Mercola. If you ever, Mercola, he's got a wonderful website if you're into this holistic stuff I am doing. He's a medical doctor that has a blog that has like all the latest and greatest good videos. Sometimes I disagree. Most of the time I don't. He's got some really, really good stuff. So we're going to pull some articles from there. Okay. So let's look at, all right. Let's look at this one. Okay. So this one's called, the article is, let me get into it. Okay, so this analysis is by Dr. Joe Mercola. Human hearts can regrow some muscle cells after severe damage. Heart attacks occur every 40 seconds in America, affecting a total of 805,000 people annually. It is characterized by blocking coronary arteries that starve the cardiac muscle of blood flow. Australian researchers found that human hearts can regenerate muscle cells after heart attacks with preserved cardiac tissue showing 7 to 8% regeneration activity, though 20 to 50% is needed for the full repair. Hypoxia, which is the damage based on oxygen, not getting the oxygen, deprived state during heart attacks may also trigger regeneration, similar to how fetal hearts produce new cells with low oxygen wound environments. So what they're saying is, weirdly, when your heart doesn't get oxygen in this heart attack situation, which is what happens. So this heart goes into a situation where it's not pumping, so it doesn't get new blood that has oxygen in it. That's what causes you to have this, what they call hypoxic reaction. So the oxygen's not getting to where it needs to, causing damage to the muscle, the heart muscle. But their argument is that in fetal heart cells, because of the low oxygen in the womb, it acts that low oxygen actually helps produce new cells in the heart itself, because it's trying to gain more oxygen. And the more cells you have, the more oxygen chances you got. Okay. All right. Let's see. Let me see what you guys need to know in here. Okay. Okay. This is what I want in this article. Okay. The human heart can regrow cardiomyocytes. Okay. And so this is a kind of cell after a heart attack. Experts have long been aware that certain animals can regrow their own heart cells after a heart attack. One example is the zebrafish, which can actually do a complete regrowth. Meanwhile, mice have shown the ability to induce this regrowth in the affected area. The human heart, on the other hand, was believed to be different. So, according to Sean Lal, a professor on clinical and molecular cardiology at the University of Sydney in Australia and co-author of the featured study, medical students are generally taught that the number of heart cells you're born with remains the same throughout your lifespan or until you suffer a heart attack. One of the problems with what I'm going to talk about now, a team of Australian researchers found that this might not be the case at all. Their study, published in the Journal of Circulation Research, made a huge breakthrough that deepens the understanding of what we know about the human heart. Specifically, they discovered how it can regenerate new heart cells through these cells called cardiomyocytes. To test their hypothesis, the researchers used a heart that sat in storage for almost 2 decades. It was donated by a family of a 48-year-old man who suffered from a severe heart attack. He was brain dead and on life support, but the damaged heart couldn't be transplanted to someone else. The heart was preserved and frozen in liquid nitrogen to preserve the tissue quality. Essentially, the tissue cells were frozen in time, according to the lead researcher. Analysis of the heart. Using an array of analytical techniques, they were able to determine how the heart underwent mitosis. According to Lal, the sample they collected from the donor heart showed a growth rate of 7 to 8%. But to be able to repair the heart back to its optimal state, it needs to get up to like 25 to 50%. Okay. So I don't want to read. This is a good article, but okay. So hypoxia could be a reason that triggers the regeneration effect. Let me look. What's happening in the... I know. All right. So what I wanted to talk about, though, is... and then we'll go into a couple things. One of the things that we don't do as a society is change our mind. So if that is medically the thought, like where our heart tissue is not, our cells cannot grow back, which I didn't know that, because like in chiropractic school, that is not taught at all. But your heart cells were not, or whatever you are born with is what you got. That's kind of crazy. And to prove it, though, that was pretty cool to have other animal species have ability to regrow heart structure. I know this. I've seen studies on where, let's say you have a blockage in an artery, and let's say it's not found. Let's say your body can function without this one blockage, because let's say you have 200 tubes and one of them is blocked. Sometimes you're not going to notice a huge difference, maybe, right? So you have this blockage that goes in. Your body will literally build cells around the blockage, build a new whole artery around that sucker, and go to the other side. It's truly remarkable to watch. But what this shows is, like, if we were taught in the sick care model that we have currently in our healthcare system, that heart cells never regenerate, then that tells me how our way of treatment of heart conditions can be changed. Here's what I would suggest. Somebody has a heart problem. All of us know somebody with that kind of condition. Start doing things that are heart healthy after the heart condition. Because according to medical, there's probably no real reason to tell the person with a heart attack, hey, eat better. Hey, take resveratrol for your heart. Eat some beets because it has the most nitric oxide in there. Do some green powder because it's known to be the circulation giant. There's a lot of good things you can do. Take a really good multivitamin to make sure you're getting all the alls in all of the heart and, in that tissue. This would change your mind, even in the medical world. Be like, hey, listen, you had the heart attack, but now let's regenerate. They did this kind of research back in the day, and like with quit smoking, and it makes sense because it's like somebody quits smoking. It's like, I think it's like 6 months or something. They have almost all new tissue in their lungs. It's like wild. Yeah, they might have some breathing issues still, of course, but you're going to have That's a pretty fascinating article. So remember that heart cells can regenerate, right? To the general public, you wouldn't have thought anything of it, but the medical culture is saying that's not true, but they just proved it is. Okay. All right. So I thought that was good. It's kind of boring, but okay. Ooh, this one's really good. Okay. Exploring the link between yoga and healthier thyroid function. This will be a good one. Hypothyroidism affects millions, and while lifelong thyroid hormone replacement helps, many people still struggle with fatigue, weight gain, and brain fog. According to a recent study, yoga can support healthier thyroid stimulating hormone, which is called TSH, better cholesterol, and a steadier heartbeat, and improved mood, and may reduce the need for thyroid medications for some people. A study found that yoga supports thyroid health by helping the body handle stress better, which is nice, improving breathing, which is a huge deal, and lung strength, calming the nervous system and easing signs of inflammation. Chronic stress, insufficient nutrition, excessive intake of really crappy fats, right? The seed oils and all that stuff, estrogen dominant foods, eating normal meats that are like grocery, non-organic, that kind of thing. Gut dysfunction, the gut microbiome, and certain medications can act as metabolic brakes, increasing your problems with thyroid, the organ or the gland. Removing the metabolic roadblocks and fueling your body with adequate calories, carbohydrates, and balanced protein can help or will create the conditions for this T3, which is thyroid hormone, to work efficiently, especially when paired with gentle yoga. So that was a good one. Remember that, having yoga, having thyroid problems and can't figure it out. Do the yoga. Okay. About in that process. This is a supplement called butyrate. Okay, butyrate. And this is a very important one to understand because it does help your gut microbiome so well. And this article is by Dr. Joe Mercola again. So boosting butyrate, what to eat and when to supplement. Butyrate is a short chain fatty acid that fuels colon cells, strengthens gut integrity, induces inflammation, and supports immunity, brain function, metabolic health, and protection against colorectal cancer. Gut bacteria like Faecalibacterium, Prasniti, Rosbura, and Eubacterium produce butyrate when they ferment dietary fibers and resistant starches, but only under the right gut environment. Okay, so if you're a gut microbiome person or a fermented food person, butyrate's a little easier to get. It's a short-chain fatty acid. And in fermented foods, not only are you getting a good gut bacteria, good probiotic, prebiotic, all of those things, but there's also these fatty acids that get released. Butyrate is a key component to cellular activity, and it's really, really difficult to get unless we're eating, kind of fermented foods, veggies, and fibers that have that butyrate in it. Okay, so that's that. So if your gut is compromised, fiber may worsen the symptoms. You need to first remove harmful inputs like seed oil, stabilize the terrain with gentle carbs and healthy fats. Once stable, what they mean is get your gut reset, gut microbiome reset. Once stable, you can reintroduce the prebiotic foods like garlic, chicory root, artichokes alongside fermented foods and saturated fats, the good fats, that support butyrate producing microbes. Lifestyle strategies like movement, deep sleep, stress regulation, and reducing toxin exposures all support butyrate producing microbes. Supplementation is also something that could happen. And a lot of times, if people's guts bacteria is off that much, then I recommend, doing butyrate as a situation. It's because it's such a good, viable thing, but your body literally has certain gut. So basically, the article is saying there's certain gut microbiome. There's like 4 trillion ones, and there's different strands of these gut bacteria. 3 or 4 of them are the ones that create butyrate. The reason they're creating butyrate is to keep your colon strong and healthy. And a lot of times you could bypass that with eating fermented foods, kimchi, sauerkraut. The list is endless. But if you're not going to do that, maybe supplementation is the right way to go for you. All right. So, and I think, let me look. Oh, sorry. Okay. So let's look if I got any other articles, and then I'll shut her down for tonight. Oh, this one's good. Oh, yeah. I can't stop off of this one. Okay. I got a couple more. Study shows vitamin D can reduce risk of hospitalization from respiratory infections. This is a big one in Michigan right now because there's a lot of people that got hospitalized for the pneumonia, bug, whatever the heck we had. Dr. Mercola did this article. 1 in 6 UK residents had an inadequate vitamin D level. It's even worse in America, which increases their risk of respiratory tract infections like pneumonia and bronchitis that may require hospitalization. Research shows people with severely low vitamin D face 33% higher risk of being hospitalized for respiratory and tract infections compared to those with optimal levels of vitamin D. Daily vitamin D supplementation produced a statistically significant reduction in acute respiratory infections. 16% lowered the risk having normal vitamin D levels. Okay. So that one is key to understanding why in COVID it was such a big deal. And then what we discovered was the people that were getting hospitalized had low vitamin D level. Almost every time it was like a 90% or 100% time that person that was literally hospitalized from the respiratory part was a low vitamin D. So if you're prone to that, your vitamin D level needs to be up like a lot higher than what we're currently doing. Okay. I want to do one quote, a chiropractic quote that I always thought this is awesome. This one's pretty easy. This one is just a joke, but I got 99 problems and chiropractic solves like 94 of them. All right. So that was good. And then I got one more thing. Oh, I think that's it for tonight because all the research in the chiropractic is still sitting really good. I like this one. There were some biomarker changes. So this is a research article they found. So this is my last one's always on the chiropractic side. So biomarker changes from chiropractic care. A pragmatic randomized controlled trial published in 2025 examined 12 weeks of chiropractic spinal adjustments versus sham in adults with subclinical spinal pain. The chiropractic group showed changes in their biomarkers related to neuroplasticity, which is neuroability, stress regulation, which reduced the cortisol, and immune function. Improvements include better light sleep stages, overall quality of life at follow-up. This adds to emergent evidence on how adjustments may influence the central nervous system and inflammatory pathways. We've kind of always known that, but it's really good to get the info out there. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had a good night. I hope you have a great rest of the week. It's supposed to be in Michigan, starting to get into that spring awesome weather. But I can't wait. I got a couple other interviews, kind of reached out and see if I can get them going. I got a few special ones that I'm working on. So I'm hoping I'm just going to try to aim for like Wednesday night when I do it, just because I think that's a perfect night for all of you too. So with that said, I'll see you on Sunday night. I think we're going to be doing a herb this week. Just don't forget Sunday night, 1:30. That's the 1% Tribe podcast where we go over some different things. And hopefully you enjoyed it tonight. And we will see you Sunday. Have a good one.